In today's video we will discuss the top 10 Transformer games. You don't want to miss this. Please make sure you subscribe to the Top 10 Jaw-Dropping Facts channel to stay updated with new videos. New videos released every Monday through Friday. We are going to give you the top 10 Transformer games you should play and get. Number 10. Transformers: Rise of the Dark Spark. Possibly the most disappointing thing about Transformers: Rise of the Dark Spark is that when it first released in 2014, Transformers fans had almost started to get used to playing good Transformers titles. After two impressive outings from developer High Moon Studios, it had started to feel like Transformers gamers were safe. Unfortunately, Activision would hand the franchise over to developer Edge of Reality for a game that would tie in not only High Moon's popular series, but the films in the original Generation 1 continuity as well. This would have been acceptable, only the game's story made little to no sense. Number 9. Transformers: The Game. Though a few people praised this game when it first released back in 2007 as being decent, this was mostly the result of lowered expectations and the game actually working. While the game was a showcase piece graphically for most of the systems it was developed for, which was every single one of them, the game came out for 7 different consoles, it was also riddled with awful combat and a weird camera that shifted awkwardly to simulate the movement of the Transformers. The game was also sorely lacking in content, featuring only a handful of Autobots or Decepticons, no other modes aside from a single-player campaign which was short and uninspired, adapting the movie perfectly. Number 8. Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Much like Dark Spark's problem, Dark of the Moon's biggest issue is that the title offered a form of false hope. Meant to tie in with the third film in the popular Michael Bay film franchise, Transformers: Dark of the Moon was developed by High Moon Studios, a company that had been responsible for the well-received Transformers: War for Cybertron only a year prior. The game itself isn't terrible, but the fact that the company had released a full game only a year prior made itself obvious here. Everything about this title feels rushed, from its weak combat to its weird physics and all too short story mode. Number 7. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. A sequel to 2007's Transformers, the game, Revenge of the Fallen, did its best to adapt the plot of the second Transformers film. Developed by Luxaflux, RODF didn't skimp on the content. 15 different Cybertronians battling across 2 different campaigns and 5 multiplayer modes is nothing to be ashamed of. On the other hand, the actual story of the game is barely existent, strung together without any cutscenes, but instead dialogue given upon the completion of each mission. The graphics aren't terrible for a mid-gen PS and 360 title, but given it's the Michael Bay Transformers, that's not saying much to begin with. The game is also rather buggy, freezing in some spots and failing to notice completed mission objectives. Number 6. Transformers: Call of the Future. Transformers: Call of the Future is a strange title. Released in 2003, Call of the Future came out in Japan for the PS2, but it never made it stateside, even though the game's dialogue is entirely in English, and even the game's menus and text can be swapped over to English as well. Having said that, Call of the Future isn't a very good game, unfortunately. Featuring some fairly repetitive gameplay, the only reason it manages to make it so far up the list is that the sheer amount of fan service poured into the game is astounding. Number 5. Transformers: PS2. Developed by Atari, Transformers for the PS2 was based on the Transformers cartoon at the time, Transformers: Armada. A semi-open world third-person shooter, the title was stunning in a number of ways, from its then beautiful graphics to the spacious levels that encouraged exploration and massive Decepticon bosses. The game has only 3 playable characters, but makes up for it by making those characters each play completely different, and populating each level full of collectible minicons, the plot device of the Armada series, which adds new skills to your chosen Transformers character, creating a high level of replayability. Number 4. Transformers. Back in 2004, we got a Transformers title that was released exclusively on the PlayStation 2. This game was based around the animated series at the time, Transformers: Armada, which ran for about a year. With that said, you don't really need to watch the series to get this game, as it's a storyline you'd come to expect from Transformers, and it's a bit different than the series mentioned. Here we have another civil war between the Autobots and the Decepticons, where you'll be controlling different Autobots throughout various missions. It's a third-person shooter where you'll strafe around as these Autobots and attempt to demolish the Deceptions. While you can transform, most of the game is mainly based around third-person shooting. Number 3. Transformers: War for Cybertron. When Activision first announced that their developer High Moon Studios was going to be working on a new Transformers game, there wasn't much faith that it would be very good. After all, to that point the large majority of Transformers games released had been average at best, but generally terrible. So when War for Cybertron was finally shown off, it's safe to say that it blew most Transformers fans away. Choosing to boldly ditch the Earth setting to focus on Cybertron, using an art style that was more reminiscent of 2000's Dreamwave series The War Within, and backing all that up with strong third-person shooter gameplay, War for Cybertron was the first good Transformers title of the HD era. Number 2. Transformers: Fall of Cybertron. Transformers: Fall of Cybertron is the peak of Transformers video games. Continuing the unique continuity set up in Transformers, War for Cybertron takes things further, developing the civil war between the Autobots and Decepticons and delving into the final days before Cybertron becomes unlivable, pushing things towards their inevitable exodus from Cybertron and travel to the planet Earth. Building on everything that came before in War for Cybertron, FOC features great gunplay, beautiful graphics, and a variety of transformations that all feel good to control, from trucks and cars to jets and helicopters. With tons of moments for longtime fans, like controlling the Dinobots or getting to be a Decepticon combiner that rains down death on any Autobot within range, Fall of Cybertron never seems content to be merely a great game, but becomes a great Transformers game as well. Number 1. Transformers: Devastation. Made by the Wunderkind developers over at Platinum, Transformers: Devastation was announced to little fanfare at E3 of 2015. But when the game was revealed to come out later that same year, fans had even less hope for the game after Legend of Korra, a game that had released only a year prior, came out to poor reviews and negative fan reception. But Devastation wound up being a shock both to fans of Platinum as well as Transformers, combining a surprisingly deep combo and RPGs customization system with beautiful graphics that perfectly emulated the old-school G1 style. The only two problems with Devastation are its anemic cast boasting only 5 playable Autobots and no Decepticons, and the fact that so far, there's no sequel coming for this amazing title. With so many great games to pick from, it's up to you to decide which Transformer game is best for you. I hope you enjoyed our top 10 Transformer games. Please leave a comment below for any games you think we missed. Do not forget to subscribe to the Top 10 Jaw-Dropping Facts channel. And new episodes release every Monday through Friday.